Hello YouTube, this is a July 2019 pure Yang Zing deck profile for Yu-Gi-Oh! So the ban list just dropped and this deck was helped out quite a bit by the changes. So this deck, you may be wondering why pure Yang Zings in 2019, but it's a strong competitor in terms of surprise, I think. I mean, I've beaten some decent decks with it. I've beaten Odd Eyes, Pure Odd Eyes, Endymion. I've beaten 6 Samurai, so it can do okay because the floating effects are so annoying. I mean, sometimes when your opponent's trying to attack, there's just an endless wall of monsters that just are flooded onto the field. So pretty strong, I think, takes your opponent by surprise. So let's begin. We start off with triple Chi Wen. This is the level 1 tuner. So this is the one you want to see in your graveyard. So all of the Yang Zings have the effect if they're destroyed or when they're destroyed by, they can miss timing. When they're destroyed by battle or card effect, you can specially Yang Zing from your deck. But this one is the one you want to see in your grave because it's got the additional effect where it special summons itself if your Yang Zing is destroyed by battle or card effect. So sometimes with creation, this card, and the actual Yang Zing that's being destroyed effect, you can get like 3 specials off of 1 destruction. So pretty cool. And it's the level 1 tuner, so versatile. So going in order of levels, the level 1 non-tuner, the Pulao. So this one, again, the same Yang Zing floater effect, but also if you use it as Synchro material, then the Synchro monster is unaffected by spells. Also, like a lot of these Yang Zings, this one allows you to Synchro summon during your opponent's turn. But unaffected by spells is pretty good because sometimes you have Dark Hole in your hand, and now running 3 Dark Holes, it actually allows you to blow up the board without affecting your Synchro monster. So now the level 2 tuner 3 Jiaotu. Just for your information, Jiaotu is a Chinese word that Japanese borrows that means believer. Anyway, it's a pretty good one to open because if you open this card and 2 other monsters, sometimes you're just setting a monster to pass turn or wait for it to be destroyed, or just normal summoning so you can have a face-up card for 9 pillars. But this one you can go right into a Synchro monster, send 2 from your hand to the grave, special 2 from the deck, go first turn, get a Synchro monster on board. Not too bad. Jiaotu probably want to play that at 3, I would say. So next, 2 Bishis, the level 2 non-tuner. So I dropped Pulao and this one down to 2 each because I thought I had too many monsters. But this one is actually quite good. It allows you to Synchro summon on your opponent's turn, like a lot of them do. But this one makes your Synchro monster unaffected by traps, which is pretty critical in this deck because there's a lot of floodgates, namely Skill Drain and Lose One Turn, that do affect your own monsters. So this one can actually help out, especially the level 8 Synchro. You probably want to use this one for Bishi as the material. So 3 Beyonds, the level 3. I mean, it's a pretty strong beater, which is good if you want to normal summon it and, like I said, have it face up on the field for 9 pillars. It allows you to Synchro summon to your opponent's turn, and also the Synchro monster can't be destroyed by battle. I mean, that's decent, not too bad. A lot of them have pretty high attack, so it doesn't matter too much, but it can make a difference. And I mean, just having a level 3, you want to have a nice variety of these levels in a Synchro-based deck. So 3 Swannies, this is the level 4. It buffs up your Synchro monster by 500 attack and defense. So with the level 8 Synchro Basha, that can actually be the difference between getting over your opponent's Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon or not. So it can make a difference, and again allows you to Synchro summon to your opponent's turn. So 1 level 5, the Tautia, which stops the possession of your Synchro monster that used this card as material from switching. So something, I mean, I personally never seen that come into play, but I mean, something like Mind Control that would stop. It's also a very strong beater though. It's definitely one that you want to be specialing from the deck sometimes because it's the strongest beater in the main deck. And then 2 level 6s, the Zafraniu. This is the only one that does not special a monster from the deck. It allows you to search when it's destroyed by battle or card effect, search a Yang Zing, spell a trap. So there's a lot of good options, like Path is sometimes one that you really do need sometimes. Even Creation is not a hard once per turn, so you can grab another one of those. 9 pillars, obviously a counter trap, very strong. So spells, 3 Yang Zing Path. I had this at 2 because I was playing Imperial Order and double anti-spell, but now the Dark Hole's at 3. I bumped Darkhold to 3. I bumped this to 3. Took out the Imperial Order, but this is, I mean, without the Imperial Order, this would definitely be a 3 of. It's easy to go through all your Yang Zing, so this shuffles them from the graveyard into the deck, so it just replenishes the deck and also gives you that 2 card. So very strong card. The draw power. And now we have 3 Dark Holes. So now you can finally consistently draw a Dark Hole and start that play instead of waiting for your opponent to do something to destroy your monster, or even worse, get rid of it by means that is not destruction. That would be even worse. But now you can actually start the play yourself with Dark Hole. So this is actually one of the few decks that Dark Hole is actually quite a lot better than Raigeki. So traps, 3/9 pillars. This is the counter trap. It's pretty much the judgment, stops anything but a summon. So it also pops a Yang Zing card you control, so it triggers your own Yang Zing monster floating effect. It is pretty essential in a control deck. I would honestly say this deck, it's got some aggro elements built in, I think. It's pretty much a beatdown strategy, so you want to be flooding the field and like pushing really hard for life points. But there are a lot of traps in this deck and a lot of like floodgates, counter traps. You are controlling the board literally with the presence. So I would say, yeah, primarily control deck. So very, very necessary card, the counter trap. 3 creations, which I mentioned is not a hard once per turn. So pile up those Yang Zing floater effects, and it actually only allows you to special summon Synchro monsters. So this deck has been pretty heavily Master Rule 4. That's why I only run 1 Link monster. So usually you're just having 1 Synchro monster in the extra zone, but still very necessary card. Even though it locks you into Synchros, that extra summon is super important. So 2 Heavy Storm Duster, you could take this in, or take this out, put this in. Really depends on what you're playing against, but I like maining this card. And now we got 1 Torrential Tribute. I had this at 3, but now with 3 Dark Holes, not as much of a need for more than 1. So Floodgates, 1 Rivalry, no Imperial Order, like I said, with the amount of spells that I run, but Rivalry at 1 for locking types. This is a worm deck, so it doesn't really hurt you except for those extra deck monsters. 1 Anti-Spell, because it hurts your opponent more than you. You don't have too many spells. A lot of times you want to activate that path as soon as you draw it or add it, but still, I would say worthwhile to run in the deck. We got Skill Drain and lose 1 turn. So these do affect your Synchro monsters pretty hard, but because all of the main deck monsters are graveyard effects, it does not affect your those floating effects. So super important cards, I would say. And if you're playing a deck that is statistically better than Yang Zings, which are pure Yang Zings, which a lot of decks probably are today, this actually helps out quite a bit, especially this card right here. But this can be annoying switching to defense mode, because a lot of times those Synchro monsters, you want to be attacking that turn. Anyway, the last 2 cards in the main deck are Floodgates that you could include if you wanted to, if you are playing against specific decks. I just have them. You could bump any of these up to 2 except for Skill Drain, but I have these in here just so you can see what they are, just for more options. 1 Imperial Iron Wall, which stops banishing, so it's like Necro Valley. Think about how annoying Necro Valley is. This is pretty much that annoying, or almost that annoying. And Mind Drain stops hand traps, which again could be good. No hand traps in this deck, because sometimes I tried it with Ash Blossom, but a lot of times, you want to just really, it's pretty necessary to draw that monster in the mid to late game, and you want to see a monster draw, or a path. A path would be a great draw. It's almost all the time a great draw, but it can be annoying to just draw an Ash Blossom when you have no cards on the field, and that's all you have. You can't. Yes, you can negate a search, but it doesn't really help your offense at all. So I didn't include any hand traps. So extra deck. Start off with the lower levels. Go from order lowest to highest. The Herald of the Arc Light, which is a negation. Level 4 Synchro here with really weak attack, but sometimes you have the 9 pillars and this card, so double negate. 2 level 5 Synchros, Ally of Justice, Catastor, and Armadis. I was thinking about High Speed Roy Chanbara, but I thought these 2 were better. You don't necessarily need to attack twice, and this one stops effects from activating until the end of the damage step. So, just can stop some decks. Flip effects, quick plays, anything that happens during the damage step could be a counter trap. This one gets around any monster that is not dark, so that can be like the solution to your problem. But a lot of times you are using this, like I said, this zone, the extra zone, on the one synchro monster. So you can link climb, keep that in mind. Synchro climb. That is a pretty necessary strategy to increase those levels and get more monsters. One Brian Act with level 6 Synchro. This one is a really killer card because it bounces, it doesn't destroy, and you can actually get those Yang Zings into your graveyard, so you can recycle them with Path. Not too bad. For the level 7 Synchros, a Black Rose Dragon, which is just perfect in this deck because you want to pop your own cards. 2 Yadzas, which actually means duck. It cannot be targeted by opponent's card effects. So pretty useful with traps like Skill Drain and Lose 1 Turn because it is not affected by those traps. It's also a pretty good generic level 7 Synchro in maybe any Synchro based deck because it can pop itself. It can pop any Yang Zing, but including itself to pop a card your opponent controls. It's also got a floater effect too, like pretty much the same as all the main deck Yang Zings in that regard. And then level 8 Synchros, 2 Bashas. So when this card is Synchro Summon, you can spin usually up to 3 cards, depending on how many original attributes you used of the worm type monster used for this card, Synchro Summon. It also can pop and then revive too, but this is sometimes how you're winning the game. This card can really mess up the opponent because a lot of times spinning is, they have no response to that, they have no protection from that, and this can just, spinning 3 cards upon summon is just a really strong effect. So last, level 8 Synchro is a Crystal Wing. This one you're definitely Synchro climbing into because you need the Synchro monster as material, but it's just your once per turn negate Solemn Strike. Pretty good one to have in the extra zone. I mean, obviously affected by Skill Drain, but like with all of these, you want to be using Beast Sheep, usually the level 2 non-tuner, so they're not affected by your own floodgates. And then level 9 Synchros, we start with the Yang Zing, the Chao Feng. So this one negates effects of the same original attribute monsters as the Yang Zings used for this card, Synchro Summon. So I don't go into it too much, being a level 9, but it is a strong beater. It's also got a floating effect. It searches a tuner, so not too bad. And negating effects, if you're playing if you use the right monsters as materials, it can be good to stop the specific monsters your opponent is using. We got a Mistworm and a Trishula for our other level 9 Synchros. So this one bounces, does target unfortunately. This one does not target, and it banishes a card from hand, field, and grave of your opponent. This is a really killer card, just super good, and is now unlimited, I think. So you could probably bump this up if you wanted to go into more of these because it's not a hard once per turn. So now we got the level 10 Synchro, a Leo, the Keeper of the Sacred Tree, which is pretty much the generic level 10 Synchro of choice. Just can't be targeted except during your main phase 2. So skip the battle phase, protected from targeting. And then 1 Link monster. I only run 1 because of creation, and you don't have enough materials. I was thinking about land because there's no like worm support, and they're all different attributes, so no elemental links, but this is just the literal standard Link monster of choice here. Just sometimes you can go into 2 underneath it like that, but sometimes you're using the negation effect. But I thought I'd include 1 Link monster, but you could probably take this out and just, if you wanted to like bump any of them, any of the level Synchros up to 1 more of that level, that wouldn't be the end of the world. I mean, you really don't need the Link monster, but it's just in here. So in the future, I may update this deck and add Metal Foes. I do kind of like the Metal Foe Yang Zing combination, but that's pretty much the deck profile. Yang Zing Pure, July 2019, Post-Banlist. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.